What is good? It is finally that time of the year, almost Christmas. Happy holidays, by the way. But we are here to finally rank / create tier lists of the best rap albums of 2022. Now that we're coming into the new year and finally, hopefully actually get a new set of rappers to listen to, because I feel like Opium just took over and everything is just like Destroy Lonely, Carson, Yeat, and nothing else gets views on any of the social media platforms, okay? But anyway, to get right into it, I have already created a subset of albums that I personally listened to this year. I know there are many more, however, we're talking about like this niche. It includes mainstream and quote underground rappers, as well as some pop actually from the Weeknd. And obviously I'm basing these albums off of like influence, longevity, and simply just quality of the album, because some of these albums are good, but like I haven't listened to them ever since the first week. Too Alive by Yeat. I would actually give it probably an A. I'm not gonna lie. Solid album. Feel like almost every single song a hit, to be honest. I've used so many beats behind my videos from this album. It's really when Yeat took over with the whole 34K album sales that surprised the whole entire game. And then we had a whole Too Alive Geek Pack. Had a couple Uzi features, again surprising the whole game. And I just think it was a big moment for this new generation of rap, but we need some more people other than Opium and Yeat, as I said before. Antagonist. I thought it was cool for what it was, but I think Autumn's bag is more on the pop lane. When he kind of went into the funky, like experimental beats, it just didn't work as well as he thought it was going to. And I think that's why in his next couple of albums, like Golden Child Chapter 2, which we also put on this list, it was a much better album in my opinion. And all of his popular songs are on that pop lane, because Autumn came from Plugin B. He has the vocals, so why try and rap with all these other people who aren't as talented, you know? So I'm gonna give Antagonist like a C, because it was like okay, it had some bangers on there, but half of it was like low-key mid. Baby on Baby 2 by Dababy, who has had the biggest fall off. Bro is now underground, as we've discussed, with all the rest of the rappers on this list. I actually didn't think it was as bad of a flop as a lot of people. Like Dababy on this album had a few songs in there, but he is just so repetitive. I'm gonna give it like a C or D, man. I'd give it like a D plus, C minus. I'll give it a C for now. Lil Baby's album, bro. This Lil Baby and that whole lane, NBA Youngboy, Lil Durk, is just the definition of mid, bro. I don't know how people listen to these types of albums. It's like every song sounds the goddamn same, but it's just stacked with features and they're streaming gods. He's partnered with YouTube Shorts when he dropped the album, and of course, that's how he sells like over 200K. He was just the chosen rapper for the mainstream in that rap caviar type genre. So, I mean, bro, I'd give this a C as well. Cochise's album, The Inspection. I actually did not think that this was Cochise's best work, although the last couple of singles that Cochise has dropped, I think that's his bag. Dropping the banger singles with that particular Pierre-esque type beat, Suave, you're floating, you just took some DMT up the ass, and that's okay. Like, I feel like more artists should just accept the fact that they are singles artists. They know how to make bangers, but making a cohesive album with like 15 to 20 songs, which is the standard nowadays, is much harder. It's hard enough to make one good song. Think about making 20 all in a small time frame too. So I'm gonna give this a B. I thought it was solid just because Cochise is good, but like the album was just all right. Now I remember when the Weeknd dropped Dawn FM, it was going against DS Forever by Gunna early this year, and it was a whole race to see who was gonna have the highest first week sales, especially with the Weeknd's record of always getting hundreds of thousands of copies sold first week. And he lost, unfortunately, even though there was some tomfoolery going on allegedly, but that's for another day. I thought the album was good. The Weeknd, Cardi, a lot of these bigger artists that really know how to put together an album with a cohesive theme, and that Dawn FM made you feel like you were in Stranger Things, like the 90s or 80s with the retro wave. Like I felt like I was living within the world of a radio. Everything had vibrational frequencies rubbing me in all sorts of places. So I'll give it a B just because the Weeknd's quality is top tier, but for him it just wasn't as good as like After Hours or Starboy, or he has a lot of classics, you know. Next we got Honestly Nevermind. Now this was Drake's worst album. I think we can all accept that. We know this for a fact. But of course, Drake always brings some sort of quality. When you pay millions of dollars in engineering, it's not gonna be absolute garbage. Like, you can still put it on at a party and just vibe while you're drinking your penis coladas and whatnot. So I'm not gonna give it an F. Like, it wasn't a complete failure, but I'm gonna give it a D. That's crazy that Drake has one of the worst albums of the year, at least of the ones that I listen to, because I'm sure there's a lot of underground garbage going on. Her Loss though, this was the best album, I think, of the year. Drake really proved that he still got it, because I told y'all, I thought Drake was washed. I mean, I didn't think he was a goner. Like, I thought he'd still be here making albums from time to time, kind of like Jay-Z, because what rapper actually retires when they say they do? But this brought me back to the days of like Nothing Was the Same type Drake, where he was in his prime. Because Certified Lover Boy and Scorpion, oh, and Honestly Nevermind, that was a pretty whack series of albums for Drake. Like, at that point I just thought he was getting overhyped. I know Scorpion did well, had a bunch of singles like Kiki, Do You Love Me, among others, but for me, when something's on the radio too much, like, it starts to make me ill. So I'm gonna give this an S tier. Flawless Like Me by Lucki. Normally it's hard for me to listen to a full Lucki album because he kind of has a very, let's say, monotonous flow. It's all kind of the same, like smoker, chill type vibe. But I think on this one specifically, he put a lot more effort into it, as it was his first album that he actually put a lot more push into. I think it was his first real distro deal or something. That's why he ended up selling 21K. So I'm actually gonna give this an A. Solid project, man. Definitely my favorite album of Lucki. I Never Liked You by Future. I don't think this was a very good album by Future. I think it was super overhyped, and it had 2 Drake features, so everybody was dick riding it since it sold like 200K or whatever it was. But if you check his popular releases on Spotify, it's literally not even in the top 5 albums. Why? Because people aren't really listening to it right now. They're still listening to his classic self-titled Future and Hendrix, which Future had like Mask Off among others, and High Off Life, which had Life Is Good, mind you, which had another Drake feature. So I feel like sometimes Future for sure benefits from his collabs with Drake, but that's just the music business, right? Like, cop features to increase more streams by congregating 2 fan bases. But still, I just don't think I Never Liked You was a very good album. It was overhyped. So I'm going to give it a C. I just know Future got more in him than that, you know? Golden Child Chapter 2 by Autumn. Here's one of those projects where I feel like it's almost like Pink Hearts by SoFaygo, in that Autumn has become one of the characters in the underground that get clowned on because of, you know, affiliations, or let's say feuds actually, or altercations with other rappers. And so nothing he drops, even if it's literally like a 10 out of 10, people will fuck with, at least from the hardcore underground fan base, also because there's a bunch of opium dick riders. But again, Golden Child Chapter 2, since he went into the pop lane, I actually thought he was in his bag for a few of the songs. More like R&B, plug-in B type. Myself, still one of my favorite songs of the year. The lyrics just hitting hard, man. So I'm gonna give it a B. Good Movie by Pierre Bourne. This was honestly somewhat of a disappointment, just because we were waiting so long for Pierre to release a solo album after his T-Lop series, wherein T-Lop 4 and T-Lop 4 Deluxe and T-Lop 5 were all like straight fire, no misses, wherein he produced and recorded on his own produced tracks. And then he had a series of collab tapes with like TM88, like Juicy J, which were low-key kind of mid. And so Good Movie was supposed to be like an extension of the T-Lop series. Not really, but he's just back doing solo work, and I just don't think that he really brought his A game. He had a couple tracks on there that I think could be made into like EDM crazy remixes, like What I Gotta Do or DJ in the Car. But other than that, man, it just has some corny Pierre Bourne lyrics, but we can get by off that if the melodies and beats were crazy. And the album had like a cohesive theme where it was almost like a radio show. So that was cool, but it just wasn't as unique as his previous T-Lot 4 and T-Lot 5 albums. So unfortunately, and y'all know I love Pierre Bourne, like last year and the year before, he was probably one of my top 5 rappers. But I'm gonna give this album like a C, man. DS Forever by Gunna. I am going to get slaughtered for this opinion, but I think this album is so wildly overrated. And I've been saying this since before all the snitching allegations, but if he is proven to be one, I know a lot of people are just gonna switch sides and get on my team. But I think it was heavily carried by like the Pussy Power featuring Drake and the Push and P meme. But other than that, it just sounded like regurgitated Gunna songs, because he has a very similar flow on each song. You just got to change the beat up a little bit. But I say that pretty much with every artist. The beat is 80% of the song. But Gunna is one of those artists in particular that we discussed before that I just think that he's a better singles artist, or a feature artist rather, whereas I can't listen to 25 tracks of straight Gunna. I just can't. I'm actually gonna give this album a D. I didn't even like the popular songs on there. Homixide Gang, you know, the Opium Dick Riders again are gonna get pissed at me. I personally thought this album was just like a whole lot of red beats all over again, and I always abide by the concept, if I can find something similar but way better, why would I listen to the thing that's worse? In that Homixide Gang is almost on this like Medusa leak Playboy Cardi vibe, and if I got Playboy Cardi, which Homixide Gang is signed to, the Opium label, then why would I listen to them? They have a couple cool songs in their last project, but again, I just can't listen to 20 straight tracks of that when I already got Cardi in my playlist. I'm gonna give this album a D as well. Jace Demons 2. Here's another rapper that gets hated, but you know, potentially for justifiable reasons, in that you know, I don't even gotta explain, but he dropped an album. He dropped like 17 albums in 2022, but we're just going to discuss Demons 2 because it was his biggest one, where he was on his melodic side this time. I feel like Jace is really good at singles. Actually, Jace is really talented, as much as I hate to say it, or as much as y'all are gonna hate me saying that and you can't accept it because of what he did. But he knows how to make like big hits, and he knows how to sing way better than most of the other rappers within his field and in the mainstream. But Demons 2 actually had a couple joints on there. It was more of like an R&B pop-ish rap album. I'd give it a B, y'all. I thought it was cool. Jack Harlow, Come Home, The Kids Miss You. This was one of the most hated albums of the year, in that it came off of the single where he sampled Glamorous by Fergie. I think the song was called First Class, and it blew up on TikTok. But regardless, bro is dating Dua Lipa, so nothing I say can really affect him whatsoever. He already won. He's like Pete Davidson, bro. But anyway, when this album dropped, I didn't think it was as bad as everybody was saying it was, but I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened to one song ever since it released. So what does that tell you? I guess it just didn't have as much longevity as his previous albums, wherein he had like the Bryson Tiller feature, among others. Definitely not one of his best albums. I'll give it like, shit, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't memorable, so I'll give it a C. Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Steppers. I thought this album was cool in that it was like a Netflix film, and that you watch it once, had a cool concept behind it, but you know, I haven't watched it ever since. It had N95 on there with Baby Keem, I think. It had the one song where he was going back and forth with his fictitious girl Taylor Page, and then they ended up, you know, doing their thing in the music video. And for a Kendrick Lamar album, which are supposed to be super meaningful and last like 5 years, which is how long he took to drop this, it just did not have much longevity. So we're gonna give it a C, man. No Stylist by Destroy Lonely. As I have already said, one of the best underground, even though he's really big at this point, No Stylist, the actual song, has blown up on TikTok for a while now, and it's been remixed and gentrified essentially. But I'd give this album, I'm saying at least an A, but it might be the best album of the year. So I'm actually gonna give it an S, because it did kind of spark the new generation of rappers. Now he has kids, bro. He got a whole lane of the new underground that is derived from his original sound, which arguably he got from somebody else, but you get the point. And now I'd say he's the top rapper of this new generation, other than Yeat, but he doesn't even count now because he like low-key mainstream. Lyfe by Yeat. I thought it was a solid project. I don't think it was as consistent as Too Alive because some of them were sleepers in the sense that it was just a bit slow for me. But one of my favorite songs of the year is Crank on Lyfe, which blew up as a single. One of the highest energy songs of the year, just the 808s coming in. And because of this and Too Alive and 4L and whatever other albums Yeat got, because he got a pretty deep discography already this early in his career, I'm excited for the next project, which allegedly is dropping in like January, so get ready. I'm gonna give it an A. My browser is set to negative, so I can't even see what album this is. Figured it out. It is Metroboomin's album, which happened to be a producer tape, so I don't know if it's really that fair considering there's a feature on legit every single song from this album, including Future, Travis Scott, Don Toliver, Young Thug, The Weeknd, basically all the heavy hitters except for maybe like Drake, even ASAP Rocky and Gunna. So is it really fair to put this album against other people who it's a singular artist? But regardless, I do think there was skill in somehow cohesively putting together a project, even though there were so many different names on it. So I'm gonna have to give it, honestly, an S tier. East Atlanta Monster by Young Nudy, who I think is one of the most underrated rappers in the game, although he has a specific sound, so it doesn't really hit the mainstream like that. But beat selection, top tier, primarily because he works with Pierre Bourne a lot, among other Atlanta producer goats. But regardless, I think it was one of his best projects, contender for one of the best albums for at least like a middle tier artist. Although, would you consider Young Nudy underground considering he doesn't necessarily hit, you know, bigger sales numbers, although he's an OG? But considering the like versatility of the album is not that great, but still for me personally, I fuck with that sound. I'm gonna give it an A. Pink Heartz. Huge controversy in the music game, as of recently actually, because it just dropped and it got a lot of hate. And I don't think, as I said before, even if it was the best project ever, it would not have gotten praise just because it took so long for it to release, like 2 years, wherein SoFaygo just waited too long. And then with the first week sales not hitting at least like 10K or so, wherein he was supposed to be the god of the underground, but then Yeat and Destroy Lonely and Ken Carson surpassed him. Like, it just wasn't too good for the perception of the album. But I actually did not think this was a bad album. Like, it was pretty good if we're talking about like mainstream rapper sound. So I'd give it like a B, to be honest, maybe even a B plus. Roddy Ricch, Feed the Streets, 3. I think the streets are full, bro. I don't think anybody wanted this. This is like the end of Thanksgiving dinner wherein your auntie comes in trying to give you some more pie. You're like, no, I already had some, grandma. So you have to go to the bathroom and vomit so that you can increase some room in your stomach to be able to eat whatever your grandma is making so you don't hurt her feelings. That's what this is of Roddy Ricch. I think he's gonna continually go downhill from here. I think he's actually talented, but like, it's just kind of mediocre. Like, it's nothing special, although he definitely has talent. But I just say it's like straight mid. Like, I give this album a D. I think there are way better mainstream pop rappers. Snot with Ethereal or Ethereal. I'll never know how to pronounce that word. Another rapper like Young Nudy who doesn't really get much mainstream appeal, although he does have Billboard singles. Although he's largely seen as like a meme rapper from like 2016, 2017 because he was on the distorted beats, but he definitely has stood the test of time, and I feel like it's become a little bit more versatile. This album is almost a mix between more of an older sound, I want to say, with kind of rage beats, but obviously Snot doesn't sound like all of the rage rappers super hyped like that, so it has a cool sound. I'd say it was a solid project. I'd give it a B. Now again, I know I'm gonna get thrashed for this with Ken's X album, wherein I just don't think it was very good project, in that it just was a worse copy of Project X, kind of like a intense version of the rage sound that is popular in the underground, but just it was mid-late 2022 after a year and a half of the rage sound already being completely saturated, so we just didn't need that anymore. And with Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely, and others being at the top of the underground, you kind of want them to move the sound forward, not necessarily backwards or stagnate. Now on Extended, you kind of heard Ken Carson using a lower voice, which sounded kind of like Future in a way, so maybe that's where he's going with the sound. But for now, X was just not a good project, man. I'd give it like a D, man. Oh, and I got mixed up with the pictures because again, my browser is negative. That was Fallen Raven by Summrs. X goes here. Fallen Raven though, by Summrs, as y'all know, one of the best projects of 2022, as I've said many times, especially from the underground. I think 10K Project signing Summrs was a huge record deal, and that apparently he got mills, so I really think that they're gonna push his next project. He might, you know, go somewhat mainstream or like mid-tier kind of. Obviously with Trippie Redd, Ian Dior, and others on the 10K lineup, it'll be easy to get big hitter features on the next project, whatever it's called, by Summrs. And y'all already know, we've discussed this, 10K really knows how to push albums. I mean, they've already blown up so many artists in the past. Just watch, Summrs going up next year, 2023. I'm buying his stock. It's going to the moon, I heard. But I'm giving this project, I'm between S and A, man, because Summrs got that ass. I'll give it an A. I don't want to be sucking too much. Uzi, Red and White. This caused a lot of strife on my channel because there were so many Uzi dick riders. Anything I said, something's good, got hella people being like, you're an Uzi dick rider. I say something's all right or bad, I'm a hater, apparently. Just everything gets so polarized on the internet nowadays. I thought the album was cool for what it was. It just sounded like old Uzi because a lot of the songs were just Grail snippets from the past, and so it was cool to get those songs finally. Not that I was personally waiting on them anyway, but then we also got some newer ones from 2021 like Final Fantasy or Cigarette. But For Fun is one of the best songs, might be the best song of 2022, so that definitely counts. But some of them were kind of just, to me at least, sounded like throwaways, but the fans wanted them, so I understand why he released them. Why not make money off the music, especially when you're recording a project that has a lot of anticipation, so you got to ease off the pressure at least a little bit. So I'll give it an A as well, especially because it was not that many songs, but most of them were pretty good. Way Too Geeked by Kankan. Another situation wherein I think that some of these newer rappers, and no hate, but I feel like it's hard to make a 20-track album while maintaining the quality. I think a lot of the newer SoundCloud rappers should stick to dropping singles whenever they get something that's really good, because otherwise it just sounds like a lot of filler. But, you know, get your bag. I understand that the labels want the albums, they want a lot of songs so they can get more streams per release, but I felt like it was just listening to the same song over and over, although there were a couple on there, the unique ones that I liked a lot. But I'm gonna have to give this a D, man. I'm not even gonna say shit. You already know how I feel. Lancey Foux, Life in Hell, I'm gonna have to get it an F, y'all, man. I'm not even, this isn't even a troll either. Like, it just sounds like a British Cardi with heavy like Travis Scott metallic auto-tune on it. Like, it just does not sit right in my ears. It sounds like someone scratching the chalkboard, bro. I can't listen to it. The Lancey song was all right when I was listening to it, the music video on stream, but man, I don't know how y'all do it. Just my opinion though. I understand if you want to like that song, all the power to you. I don't get why people get so offended. God damn, y'all make it a personality trait to like Lancey Foux. But anyway, Hit Me When You Land by K-Swab, not even on streaming services right now because I think he had some problems with some producers. But y'all know K-Swab, like one of my favorite, if not favorite rapper. It depends on recent releases who's my favorite rapper, because I'm one of those people that listens to really the last thing that dropped over and over until I get sick of it. Can't really do that right now since it's not on streaming services, but it was a great album. K-Swab always kills it. It's like the perfect match of music that I like, with like the cloud, vapor trap, whatever Spotify Wrapped wants to label it, and I can listen to it over and over. Just a vibe. Good feelings, having sex with women, doing drugs. I don't know what else other topics that he raps about, but that seems like an okay life. So we'll give it an A. And it just dropped, so it really hasn't had that much time to simmer yet in 2022. But I think every time it comes on in the Spotify shuffle, I will definitely be enjoying myself. Oh, and lastly, I just want to add the SZA album, which was surprisingly amazing. Like, I know SZA is good, but for a little, you know, set playlist real quick with your girl, that shit go crazy. Definitely brings out your feminine side though, so be very careful. You don't want to turn into Liver King out here, start pumping yourself up with estrogen and whatnot. But definitely contender for one of the best albums of the year, even though it just dropped. I mean, that's why it sold over like 300K, just pure quality. And you know, if you're chilling with some girls, maybe you're single, they're gonna be impressed if you listen to this album. I'll be real with you. You want to get some points real quick? That's it. And there you have it. Take your screenshots if you want. This is my official tier list. Y'all let me know in the comments what you think. And I saved like the template on the website if you want to go make your own and post it underneath my tweet or Instagram. But let me know who had the top albums of this year. Is main boy Bobby Lamb signing off, listening to strictly Mariah Carey for the rest of the year, because your boy needs some presents, some blowj coupons. Of course, make sure to like and subscribe to the Bob Game if you with it. Peace out, clap you. Nice seeing you.